Hi everybody, I'm Beebs Kelley. Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to dive deeper into Meghan's weird pregnancy video and the public's reaction to it and why it has only fueled the surrogacy rumors. There have been two main reactions from the public and the press. A lot of people think that it was relatable, fun, not taking themselves too seriously, just putting out something fun. And a lot of that group who believe like, whatever, it's just something fun, it was a trend at the time, who really cares? A lot of people in that group think that if you don't like the video, then you just have some weird hangups or you're being biased or ist in some way. The other group of people, which I would say is a lot more dominant, there's a lot more people that fall into this second category, found it to be tacky, to say the least, violating their own privacy. For two people who complain about privacy so often, this felt very out there, very outrageous to have something like this on the internet for all to see forevermore when you bang on about privacy all the time. Also, people think it's just not something for public viewing. Do it in private, keep it for you, great. Even share it privately amongst friends, but don't put it on the internet, for the love of God. A lot of really great points have come from the discussions within this group of people who didn't really warm to the video. Right before you give birth is an intimate, often stressful moment for a mom, for a parent, for anyone. And given previous statements about how they had had miscarriage and post-eclampsia, this doesn't add up for a lot of people. There's no signs of stress from either of them. There were complaints from Meghan that she was dealing with a lot of physical challenges. So people feel like that doesn't really track well with this total lack of anxiety that we see here. A lot of people think it was a little over the top, the way Meghan did the trend, compared to others who did the trend. It was a very nerdy display that left a lot of people uncomfortable. The secondhand embarrassment, the massive amounts of cringe, and some people found the trend gross just in general. Also, the layer of hypocrisy of sharing things like this and pictures of the kids after privacy tantrums has also felt a little hypocritical, a little weird, kind of confusing for people, mixed messages. The press acknowledged that the video was incredibly bizarre and cringe, but they are also saying that the theories that she's wearing a moon bump are a bizarre conspiracy theory, since there is no definitive evidence either way. There is nothing that can literally prove Meghan did or did not use a surrogate or carry the baby. Technically, both are theories at this point because there's no solid evidence to back either one up. So I feel like saying it's just one of these things is a conspiracy theory is kind of irresponsible journalism. Technically, we have two theories and neither of which has been disproven or proved at this point. But I also think it's important to remember that the press is probably trying to avoid potential lawsuits from this overly litigious couple and are treading carefully here. Some even think that this is a plot to entrap publications in a lawsuit. That if a publication comes out and says, look, this is proof there was a surrogate or whatever, or says something like that, then bam, Harry and Meghan can try to sue them or something. So some people think that this was kind of an entrapment plot because Harry and Meghan love to do lawsuits, love to sue, and currently are on a losing streak. So, they're out lots of money at the moment. I can't say it's not far-fetched, okay? Setting the reaction to this aside, there are a lot of elements to this video that feel more bizarre than it needs to be and feel more suspicious than it needs to be. Like, for example, there's no anxiety, there's no stress signals from either of them. So let's cover the facts and details that support each of these two theories and the potential contradictions of these theories. In support of pregnancy rather than surrogacy theory, we have comments from Harry and Meghan about it. Harry described the birth of Lily. We've heard Meghan make a lot of comments that allude to her actually having her children, carrying her children herself. She looks like she's wearing an IV here. She did have a rounder, fuller face after both pregnancies. It looks like she has a monitor on her tummy during the dance video. Another explanation for that could be that she was on a medication to induce lactation, and that can make you gain weight. That is something that people have discussed as a possible explanation. Having a fuller face and a little bit of weight gain doesn't automatically negate the possibility of a surrogate. It just means it could be from pregnancy, could also be from those lactation medications to try to induce the ability to breastfeed a surrogate. It would be an astonishing lie at this point. Like, quite frankly, it would be so insane. It's beyond wearing moon bumps to go to these great lengths to try to legitimize a lie. It's really intense. It's really taking things too far. So it's a little difficult to believe the surrogacy rumor and lie at this point with how much Harry and Meghan have done. If it were true, that theory were true, they've gone so far. It's fantastical. So that is hard for a lot of people to wrap their head around and believe that people would do that, and therefore has caused a lot of people to think, okay, it must not be a surrogate, because that would be so insane at this point. But keep in mind, on the other hand, we have a lot of people who are acknowledging or thinking, well, the stakes might seem pretty high to Meghan and Harry, to use their turn of phrase, when the stakes are this high of the kids not being in the line of succession, perhaps not being titled ever, perhaps not being, treated the same by the royal family in terms of protocols because of surrogacy, that might be enough to compel Harry and Meghan to do this lie, to back up this lie, try to fabricate evidence to legitimize this lie, or try to, cover up their lie, because they view it as super important and super high stakes. Evidence in support of the surrogacy rather than the pregnancy, the bump moves weird. It just does. Okay, there's really no way around this. Now, Meghan is very short torsoed and she has a wider waistline already. So with her frame, the baby likely would be all out in front of her. It certainly wouldn't have a long torso to spread out vertically. I mean, Catherine, Princess of Wales, has a long torso, and her baby bump was kind of contained almost, it seemed. Like, she got big. The baby had more room, And that's something that I have seen in real life amongst pregnant ladies a lot. And pregnant women talk about this. If you have more room, and you're a taller woman, your baby bump has a lot more vertical space to spread out as well as out front. If you are short or you're short torsoed, that baby is all out in front. Just bam, pushing out front because it has to. There's no other space for it. So on the other hand, the shape of the bump could be due to her body type and having that particularly short torso. But I did go down a rabbit hole like a lot of creators. I know Black Belt Secrets did a good video on it where he showed some examples, so you could go check that out. I'll try to link it. And Scott Rouse also took a look at this and tried to get a little bit of a barometer on how do these baby bumps usually look in this trend, across this trend. I did the same. I did a little research, okay? I looked around. I couldn't find any other bellies that moved the same way as Meghan's in these dances on these trends. Now, of course, I only dedicated like 15 minutes to this because to me, that's kind of the max. I don't need to see these things. I don't particularly want to investigate further, but I did not find any examples that could definitively back up Meghan's with like, hey, this lady also could move her bump up and down the same exact way. I also think the jiggling, when she did a little bit of a jiggle, that would be so painful with a fully pregnant belly. It would hurt. It would be uncomfortable. So the consensus is that she's not moving like it's a big, heavy baby bump that's constricting the rib movement, because you literally can't bend forward well because your ribs get in the way of the baby. It's not soft. The way that she's moving, the way that she's dancing, the way that the bump is moving, and the fact that none of it looks heavy like it should and stiff like it really should, a lot of people view that as evidence of surrogacy over pregnancy. The general attitude in this moment also seems incongruous to how most people would normally behave right before giving birth. On the other hand, maybe they were just trying to lighten the mood, and every other minute besides this that's not on camera, they were super serious and stoic. Her belly did also look weird when she was with the royal family, when she was pregnant with Archie. There were times where it looked bigger one month and the next month it looked a little smaller. Of course, that could have to do with the baby moving around. It could have to do with weight gain or loss, depending on symptoms. You might have more nausea one month than the other. You might be more hungry one month than the other. And And outfits. Different outfits fitting you differently are going to make things look profoundly different. But there is no denying that there was a lot of suspicious photographs and moments with the baby bump when she was with the royal family. That is a fact. And there is no way around how strange the bump looked throughout the pregnancies. What I think is the most compelling evidence that would support a surrogacy rather than a pregnancy is that they have never come out to shut down the rumors at all. They've never come out and unequivocally stated there were no surrogacies involved. There's no surrogate. It's just not there. It didn't happen. And the fact that they don't and that they haven't not only is what I find most irresponsible about this whole mess, but it's also something that is just so hard to ignore, that if you did not use a surrogate, why are you letting the rumor stay? Women who've had babies and participated in this trend near and around 40 weeks have a general consensus that this video does look off because you're at the peak of heaviness and tightness of the abdomen. You're in your penguin era, okay? When you're that far along, you're just waddling everywhere all of the time. Even the most fit and flexible of women, the baby at this point is in your pelvis, preventing you from bending forward, preventing you from moving the way you normally do because it's about to come, the baby's ready and heavy and everything is stiff. So no matter how fit you are, no matter what great shape you're in or how much yoga you do, this did look odd to people and a little bit of an outlier, if you will. The room that they did this video in, many people find to be another point of suspicion because there's no personal belongings. It's not a typical delivery room. It could be, though, a recovery suite or a sort of pre-admission room where you're kind of getting checked in and getting looked over. They get your heart rate and blood pressure and all of that type of stuff before they admit you to the delivery room. So it could have been taken in that sort of a space. Maybe. Just plain devil's advocate here. Looking at it objectively, as we try to do here. There's also the issue of the birth certificates and announcements with both Archie and Lily, neither of whom have signed, verified, born of the body the way Catherine, Princess of Wales did for all three of her children. There's no doctor's signatures on Archie's birth certificate, which is suspicious. It is. That's bizarre. And when you combine that with Harry and Meghan acting so strange and fumbling the announcement, it only raised suspicions. And that's really what initiated a more concrete and widespread theory of surrogacy rather than pregnancy, because during Archie's pregnancy, Meghan's bump appeared to be the wrong size for the month on multiple occasions. It was larger in January than in February, for example. She bent over in ways that many thought looked like she was moving as if her belly was soft, not hard and obstructive to movement. The video itself, compared to other similar videos of the trend, is an outlier. I saw very fit women who are dancers near 40 weeks doing the trend and not able to do the same types of moves as Meghan did. In these videos of other pregnant ladies doing this trend, almost always the dad comes by and behind and rubs on the tummy and rubs on the baby belly. We never saw Harry touch the baby belly, ever. Harry's never touching that, and he doesn't in the video, so that does kind of take Meghan and Harry's video into a little bit more of an outlier context. At this point in time, I find it interesting and peculiar that there seems to be much more evidence and much more reasonable arguments in support of the surrogacy theory rather than the pregnancy theory, which is exactly why these rumors are spinning out of control and should be stopped. I just can't imagine putting myself in their shoes, not stopping such rumors. I'd have cleared them up immediately for so many reasons. For those who are on the fence or who fully believe the surrogacy theory or who kind of lean towards the surrogacy theory being possible are largely reasonable people. They're not wild, crazy conspiracy theorists, most of them. These rumors have been swirling since they announced the Archie pregnancy. And because of the appearance and the movements in this video, these rumors have become more widespread because of the birth announcements being suspicious, which we have a separate video on. I will link for you here if it's out. Otherwise, be sure you're subscribed because it'll be coming out next. The birth certificate not having the proper signatures seemed to sort of solidify the theory of surrogacy in a lot of people's view. And now these rumors have only doubled down because of this video and the lack of definitive evidence combined with the conflicting statements from Harry and Meghan. Things like eating right before giving birth, or Harry getting high on the laughing gas, or going home within 2 hours after having an epidural. Having complications and needing to cling to Harry for support to walk around, but then doing things like this, it just doesn't add up. Which is nothing new for the Sussexes. They're incredibly inconsistent and none of what they say ever adds up. But I do find it peculiar that there's so much more to support suspicion of surrogacy than validating pregnancy. I think that that is more telling than just pure speculation. Even the potential reason behind doing this is plausible, of trying to keep the kids in the line of succession and thus making them feel that they are willing to go to such great lengths to hide surrogacy from the world for that reason. It's not just about privacy. It's not just about ego for Meghan not wanting to admit to having a surrogate. It's because of the line of succession. And Meghan and Harry are so obsessed with titles and so obsessed with status that I think that that would be something that could compel them to go to such insane lengths, even though it's hard to believe. But I'm also astonished that each time Meghan posts something for the kids, she immediately one-ups it with a post of her own and is essentially competing for attention with her children, which is just as uncomfortable as the video itself, as a quick aside. But leave your opinion in the comments. Which theory do you think seems more likely? I'm very eager to hear your thoughts. I think if they didn't use a surrogate, and they're letting these rumors fly, it's obviously self-serving to try to get more attention, which is just gross. And ignoring the needs of the children to not have this sort of a unfair rumor swirling about how they came in the world. But anyway, leave your thoughts in the comments. I'm eager to hear what you think. Thank you for joining me for today's video. I hope you have a happy day ahead, and I'll see you next time. Bye!